Can I just ask, what in the world happened between the third game in the series and this one? What sort of drugs were taken that caused such a drastic change to nearly everything we know about Harry Potter console games? What in the world was the fourth game like? This is so different from everything we've seen so far in so many ways. It has some of the same problems for sure, but this feels like a completely different world from the others. So let's take a tour. Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix for the PS2 was released in America on the 25th of June 2007. It appears that the development team saw forward in time and watched my review of The Prisoner of Azkaban because the absolutely boring team name of EA UK was rebranded as the slightly less generic EA Bright Light for this game. I've got to give props to them for coming up with a cool theme though, because the engine used for this game was the Halogen engine. Do their modern games use like the OLED engine? If they made a game about cavemen, would it be using the Bonfire engine? We're going to be looking at the PS2 version of the game here obviously, though it's important to note that most versions are exactly the same. Heck, they even use the bloom-covered cutscenes straight from the PS3 and 360 versions on the PS2. This time, I'd be happy to explain the plot, because though that's not what you're spending most of your time on, they do a much better job here. In the last book-movie game that we didn't get into, Voldemort is resurrected. However, Harry's the only one to witness it that comes back alive. Therefore, the Ministry of Magic doesn't believe him, nor do they want to. Dumbledore, Sirius, and the others do, however, and they restart the Order of the Phoenix in order to prepare for another war with Voldemort. The Ministry is so frightened that this is a ploy so that Dumbledore can take over, that they force one of their own, Dolores Umbridge, into the Defense Against the Dark Arts teaching position at Hogwarts. Much of the plot revolves around the Defense Association, or Dumbledore's Army, which is a group led by Harry that focuses on practical spell usage, since practicing defensive spells has been outlawed by Umbridge in class. Eventually, she becomes headmistress and begins ruling the school with an iron fist. The basic structure of this game couldn't be more different than the others. The only thing that's really the same are a few core concepts. You still cast spells, you still technically platform on rare occasions, you still explore the school, you still have wizard duels of sorts, and you still spend most of your time doing random stuff that in no way involves the main plot. Gameplay basically all revolves around exploration here, with everything you do centering around that core concept. The pace is a lot slower, honestly, which is welcome since the more action-oriented pace of the other games didn't always lend to them feeling better. Many of the spells you learn allow you to further explore the school, and though they're all largely only used for one thing, they're used for that one thing in so many different ways and in so many different contexts that it feels good to use magic here. Spells are now cast by moving the right analog stick in various ways, rather than by simply pressing a face button. It's similar to the Skate series or a Tiger Woods game. I guess that's not surprising since they're all EA games, and it actually works really well here. It's a lot more engaging than just pressing a single button, but the commands are simple enough that they don't require constantly thumbing through the spell list to remember. I'm gonna be straight up with you all here. Most of your time is going to be spent doing random side quests in order to get the members of the DA to come to the meetings. They've all got other things going on, and it's up to you to sort out their problems for them. That's not exactly on point, and it feels like busy work at times, but most of the side quests are interesting enough that you might not care. When not doing these quests, you can spend your time using various spells to, for lack of a better way to describe it, clean up the school. There are a lot of things around the castle that are broken, lonely, messy, or just need interacting with. The more you do, the more powerful your spells get. Though I didn't notice any changes in any of them other than Reparo, which repaired objects faster the stronger it got. The other bonus you get for doing these odd jobs around the school comes in the form of the Room of Rewards, which has tons of things for you to see inside, my favorite of which easily being the interviews with the developers and the cast. There's a lot to unlock in here, so I won't spoil any of it for you. The final piece of the puzzle comes in the form of random schoolyard games you can play, like Wizard Chess and Exploding Snap. These are a decent pastime, and have good enough rules and AI opponents that they can be enjoyed fairly easily. There are other things like an Occlumency minigame, but they're hardly worth mentioning, so I won't waste your time. As explained earlier, spells are now cast by moving the right analog stick in various directions. I found that this functioned perfectly almost every time, as long as I was slow and methodical in my inputs. This isn't exactly a fast game, and the more you take the time, the more enjoyment you're likely to find from it. As for the exploration, most of it is at least engaging enough that you won't be bored to sleep. And if you like simply looking for things to interact with, you'll enjoy the plethora of near-mindless things to fix around the castle. Solving quests and puzzles is almost entirely left up to you at all times, which can both be a detriment and a huge positive. On the one hand, you feel much more satisfied with things when you do them yourself. The game almost never forces you into a situation where you have to do something exactly as it wants you to. However, things like the occasionally poor descriptions for quests, the lack of a quest log, and an iffy GPS system can quickly get on your nerves if you forget what you're doing. Combat is probably the weakest link here, and might as well not even exist. There's no HUD during duels, so I could never figure out if you could even lose encounters. There are different difficulty levels, so I would assume it's possible, but I played on normal and never lost once. Most of the time you'll win by simply casting Protego followed by Expelliarmus over and over. They were really the only part of the game that I didn't look forward to, other than using the grand staircase. The staircase is really complex now. It looks great, but that also means it can get annoying to traverse pretty quickly. It's smart and knows where to point the stairs for you, but man is it slow. If I may present an idea here, I believe that this game wanted to be a Sims game of sorts. It feels like things would have been a lot more interesting if it would have had passing days and time, and if none of it was scripted. If you had systems that made it feel like you were making progress over time, the large list of simple quests would have felt much less like a bump preventing you from progressing. Don't get me wrong, the quests are usually passably entertaining, but when it throws almost 24 of them at you and then just lets you loose, it would be nice if you could take a break from it to occasionally manage something else. Many characters could have had their own schedules they followed, so that you had to manage knowing where they were. Maybe there could have been dialogue trees to explore and relationship meters for all of the named characters. My point is, the basis for this game is interesting, but I feel if it was given more time and proper direction, it could have been a legitimate Hogwarts simulation instead of a list of quests. Who wouldn't want that? A Hogwarts MMO where you create your own character, join a house, learn spells, and go on adventures? That'd be so awesome. Sorry. The presentation here is overall pretty great for the time. It matches with the movies almost exactly given the power limitations of the console, and there's a lot of high quality beautiful work here. Some of the music is the same as in every other game, though there are a lot of new tracks too. Regardless, it's all excellent as per usual. A lot of the voice talent is straight from the movies this time, which is something completely new to the games. Strangely, some like Harry and Hermione aren't voiced by the corresponding actors and actresses, though I myself couldn't tell the difference at all. Seriously, I've never heard such perfect impersonations of someone.
She hoped she didn't have to remind us. As if we could forget. Every teacher keeps reminding us every lesson.
Where are we going to find a book on self-fertilizing shrubs?
Neville will explain. Let's find him. Come on, Harry.
The story still feels rushed, but nowhere near as rushed as it was in the previous games. Most of the core plot points are touched on and explored, even if the amount of importance they're given is all over the place. The game also has a lot of little touches that make it feel more aligned with the books and movies. There's a lot of banter and such as you explore, most of which is well written enough, though they can repeat a lot. There are some smart stylistic cues as well, my favorite being that the GPS-style navigation line is skinned as the footsteps you see on the Marauder's map. In the end, the school feels like a truly living, real place, at least compared to the previous games. Whether one likes the way this game is built more than the others is up to them. I for one enjoyed this game much more than any of them other than arguably the first game. The first one is so simple that it's hard to find issues with it, but while this game definitely has many more problems than the Philosopher's Stone, there's something I found truly magical about this. Pun intended. If you wish you could live out just a bit of what it's like to go to school at Hogwarts, this is definitely your place to do it. Even just walking around the school is likely enough to satiate a hardcore Harry Potter fan. And so ends Harry Potter month. It was exhausting to play all of these games in succession, largely because the middle two really don't hold up terribly well anymore. But overall, I'd say it was a good experience. The show will be back on its normal schedule for next month, so have a great few weeks and look forward to what's coming next.